many years later, then I revealed to her I was in so much debt.
How did
Then
she
she
respond?
realised.
Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, I didn't tell
Could
her
have
why.
been
Because I
just together.
didn't do practice like trying to do a minimalist pregnancy, that kind of thing. It's like,
Is that something that... The what is a minimalist pregnancy? Okay, so we have Dave in the house. His blog is Minimalist in the City. So Dave, tell us a bit about yourself, about your blog, and how long have you been writing it?
hi, my name is Dave, and then together with my wife Kate, we have been like started our blog in 2016 when we kind of like Kate introduced me to this book called The Magic of Cleaning Up or Tidying Up.
That's the Marie Kondo book.
Yeah, Marie Kondo book. So when I was I have some kind of like OCD during then. I mean, now on hindsight, I kind of like I felt that I had OCD. But then during then, I was like thinking, what's the magic of like tidying up? What I mean, I've been tidying up most of my life, so I was like, what's the magic of it? So I don't really quite comprehend. So I went through the book. It's like, whoa, that's quite interesting. So
Is it a branding thing? Use the word magic, makes people more interested.
Yeah, probably it might be a magic. I mean, it's a branding thing, but it does intrigue my curiosity. It's like, how come I've been like doing this all my life, but I didn't really feel that I didn't really feel like any life-changing changes to my life, that kind of thing. So I was like, okay. When I read about the book, then I was like, okay, actually this really ties up to minimalism in a way. So then I started to go down the rabbit hole about minimalism. So I discovered about the minimalist from the US. So that's why I read more about the blog, and then we happened to be moving to a new place. And so I was thinking of some ID design, that kind of thing. So to me, minimalism initially was something very visual. So it's like something, I just keep a very nice house, like Muji-like inspired kind of house. But actually, as time goes by, I don't really think that was the main thing about minimalism, which I felt it like, I mean, probably like 5-6 years later when I was living like a minimalist, that kind of thing. So it's not like what people perceive like the Instagram kind of photo, like, Muji must be white, brown. I mean, white, brown does play a part, but you need to know why white and wood does calm your heart. Yeah, so probably that is the main reason why people do it like white and then use wood, because it calms your heart. It makes your mind clearer when you have lesser stuff around. Like example, like in this room, it's like, I see a lot of wires laying around. So my focus is being diverted. It's like, how come this wire is? I mean, probably the OCD me does that. But
Okay.
But
Riri, our producer, we need to Marie Kondo our studio. Too many wires around.
you can focus better on a conversation, heart-to-heart talk, rather than just focusing, how come this place is so messy, that kind of thing. Yeah, but it kind of like make you focus better from the mental stage. So it's like mentally I was like, okay, so I just have to focus on my conversation with you today. So I don't have to focus on any other thing.
Because for me, minimalism is not about just being bland.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just give me something bland and you call it minimalism.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
There has to be some thought to it. Like,
Yeah,
why
correct.
is it designed in such a minimalist way?
Yeah, correct. So you need to kind of like, I mean, for someone who is kind of like adventurous, I will want to, okay, why not I just design it for my place? So then I will want to see how it actually calms me down. I mean, nowadays, like people, they are working like full time, very busy every day. It's like they don't really have time to think or to relax, to have a very calming mind, to just stay at home and then you just relax. So for me, that was the immediate feeling that I felt. It's like, okay, I felt lighter, I felt calmer. I don't really think like there's anything that's distracting me. So then I can kind of like focus on what I'm supposed to do. Like example, when I'm blogging, I don't want to be thinking about, there's so many things to clear this weekend. It's so messy over there, that kind of thing. It's like a chore. Even though the thing you might not be using it, but it's mentally sucking away your energy.
So is minimalism about helping you to focus, or how would you define minimalism?
So for me, minimalism is kind of like minimizing, decluttering for a start. So that's what I did initially. Declutter, I went through the whole decluttering thing, room by room. It's like Then it started to look, it's much neater.
That's when it sparked joy for you.
Yeah, it sparked joy to me. It's like, oh yeah, I got to do lesser, I don't know, housework, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Then I have more time to focus on other things that is more important to me. So I started to kind of like having lesser stuff, but the lesser stuff was just a beginning. So the deeper understanding of minimalism is actually not just about having lesser stuff. So initially it was the stuff that people thought, oh yeah, have lesser stuff, then you can enjoy the life. But
That's
actually,
all the tips and tricks you get on minimalism.
yeah,
blog,
correct.
right?
Those are the beginning stage.
Decluttering.
Yeah. Those is like you can go through it, but yet probably you still might not feel the ultimate feeling of being a minimalist, that kind of thing. So the ultimate feeling of being a minimalist is after 7 years, right? As a minimalist, I can tell you confidently that it's not about having lesser stuff, having a Muji inspired home. It's not about having a neater home or something like that. But it's more about letting go, because decluttering is a action of letting go. So as now on hindsight, when I look at it, it's like, oh, okay, 6 years later, then I realized, hey, actually, it's the action of letting go. So it's about letting go of your past, letting go of your ego. It might be letting go of your past hatred with someone, and letting go of probably yourself, so that you can go forward to a future that you don't live based on your past. So it's like a new lease of life. So you just focus on the future. So you don't have to think like what happened like 10 or 20 years back. Something bad happened to you, that kind of thing. So it's about letting go of that feeling, the experience, and then start to forgive people. I mean, maybe certain people that created certain hardship in your life, you start to let go. Once you let go, I can tell you that was the most liberating feeling. Yeah, as to experience as a person or as a minimalist. So I was like, wow, okay. So I like after 6 or 7, then I realized like, oh yeah, actually that was the biggest. I mean, when I was doing all these like minimalist actions to DIY stuff,
It's all very physical space, right?
Yeah, it's all very physical, yeah.
But you mentioned focus, so that's mental.
Yeah, that's
and
mental.
There's
Yeah,
also
correct.
the emotional aspect.
Yeah, correct, emotional
and
aspect.
spiritual, because you're talking about letting go,
Yeah,
letting go of
correct.
hatred.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We can go deeper into that, Physical aspects, you can go check out Minimalist in the City.
Yeah, you can
check
just
out the
follow
blog,
me,
all the
yeah.
tips are there. Minimalism is a really popular topic in the last few
correct,
years, right? There's
correct.
lots of tips and tricks out there. But
Yeah.
since this is a podcast, you can really afford to go deeper
Yeah,
and find out
correct.
more about is there something they can think of about letting go?
letting go probably letting go of something that like what my dad did. I mean, like probably by probably a bit of history. So it's like during our childhood, I don't feel like, I mean, with my younger siblings, we don't really feel like we're lacking anything. So it's like my father was a salesman, then my wife was my mother was a housewife. So we don't really feel like my dad just ferry us to school, ferry us to anywhere that we want to go to. So we don't really feel like anything is lacking. So as I grow slightly older, when I'm in like secondary school, then I started to feel like my father started to do some part-time jobs at night on top of his sales job. Then my mother started to work as a factory production worker at night for a night shift. So during daytime, together with my brother, who is just 1 year apart, we are taking care of our younger sister, who is like 8 years apart.
Are you the eldest?
Yeah, I'm the eldest.
Yeah, the eldest.
So we kind of like during daytime was like I'm the eldest, so I got to kind of like take care of them, that kind of thing. So because my mom is resting, I mean after a night shift she feels very tired, so she just need to rest, that kind of thing. So that's when I started to think about, okay, so probably I need to kind of like help out with the household in terms of household chores, in terms of earning some incomes. So when I started working very early, I mean when I was in secondary school, I started to work like part-time, that kind of thing, after school. So I didn't really focus a lot on my studies during that. The first thought in my mind is I want to be independent. So I don't want to rely too much on pocket money from my dad, that kind of thing. So that's where I started working, that kind of thing. So
What happened though? Because your mom went from a housewife to started working.
Yeah, correct.
What was the family going through, and how come you feel this need to?
because
start earning
I think
money?
because if during that I was like thinking, oh yeah, well, my parents are always not at home. You know,
Seems busy.
yeah,
Out
seems
there
busy,
making
right?
money,
I mean,
working
you
hard.
never have much thought about that. But then I was thinking, if I can kind of like earn some income, I don't take lesser pocket money from them. Probably they might have more time to spend time with us. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that was the very initial thought that I have at that age. So but it become like a more important role because I like a brother. So it's like I need to be a good role model. To take care of the household, take care of the siblings, and then earn my own keep, that kind of thing. So that's where that's where I started to kind of like I want independence lah. But I didn't know that it was like financial independence, but I just want independence. Yeah, correct. Because I think ultimately, after many years back, thinking back, right, I was like, why did financial independence came about? So it was the independence that I seek initially. So, but I didn't initially when I was young, I didn't know that that was called financial independence. It's like, oh, okay. So I just thought about just independence. Yeah, correct. In a
Yeah,
way.
but financial independence gets you there.
Yeah, kind of like it's like many years later that I realized, oh, yeah, financial independence will probably get you there. But initially, it was just like hustling, you know, working
Working
multiple
hard.
jobs just to pay. During my polytechnic days, I was like kind of like earning my own pocket money and then earning my school fees, that kind of thing. So at least to elevate part of my parents' financial commitment.
We're talking
Yeah.
about letting go, though. So, what did you have to let go in this case?
So something happened, of course.
Okay.
So that was when we have all these like financial problems, which I didn't know. Is when my dad got retrenched. Yeah, that was the time when I was like kind of like in NS when I signed on for as a regular in Air Force. To kind of like I'm seeking that independence in a
For
way.
money, yeah.
Yeah, for money, basically.
Okay.
So I was
For
like,
nation, for money.
yeah, at the same time, I mean,
Okay.
during that was the simple thought. It was like, oh, okay. Then at the same time, during when I was in Air Force, my father actually got retrenched.
Okay.
Yeah, got retrenched. And then the next thing that happened was we know that, and during that time, I think we just shifted to a new place. I think probably 5 years back. But then we were thinking about the mortgage. So when my father was retrenched, then we don't know that how much was the mortgage. I think probably during that was like 1,001 or 1,002 or something like that. So during that, so I was like, wow, we just started working and then to kind of like to pay for this mortgage is something that we can't do because after my father got retrenched, I think he got some hard time trying to find a job. So that's when we came to the conclusion with my brother, who is just 1 year apart. We came to the conclusion that we should sell the place because I don't think we can pay for the mortgage.
What you were a regular? How old are you and your brother?
During then probably we were like 22, 23 or
Well,
something.
and talking about selling the house, making
Yeah,
big
yeah,
family
yeah,
decisions.
big family
Yeah.
decision. So I was like discussing with my mom. I mean, my dad was kind of like out during that time. So I discussing with my mom, we discussing with my brother. My brother also just started working. So we kind of like, hey, we have some savings, that kind of thing. So we were thinking like, why not we just sell this house? Then we go and buy something that which can be fully paid for.
Okay.
Yeah. So we kind of like we worked like a few years, so we have some like money in the CPF OA account. So we kind of like contributed to the new place, which is fully paid up.
Okay.
And then we realized that not just the retrenchment that is hurting us. My father does have some debt
Okay.
because he's I mean during then I know he had some debt and then he was addicted to gambling. So I didn't know that. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. So then we tried to during the time we were trying to lessen our focus was to lessen the liabilities, and then at the same time we tried to pay off all the debts.
How much was the debt, if it's okay to share?
Actually I can't remember how much was that, but I think
Six
probably
figures?
no, I think probably in the 5 figures.
Okay.
Which is still okay. So
But,
we
I mean,
kind of like
the breadwinner of the family got retrenched, and
Yeah,
on top of
correct.
that, I mean, if you have some savings, it's actually quite.
yeah,
You can still
but the
go
thing,
by. Yeah.
but the thing is we don't have savings at all.
You have savings and
yeah.
you have debt. Okay.
Yeah, you have that. So it's like you are one step lower.
And
so,
you're in your early 20s, right?
yeah, correct. So the first thought was to cut down all
Eldest son, you have to
eldest
take care of
son.
the family.
Yeah,
Right,
so I got
okay.
to cut the liabilities. I got to repay all the debt and then make a fresh start, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So we moved to a new place. We will we took out some personal loans together with my brother to kind of like pay for some of the renovation because the new place we're getting, the kitchen is like getting very old, so we have no choice but to take some personal loans just to pay that off. But at the same time, we did a lot of like DIY stuff, like we lay our wires, we paint our own house, we refurbish some furniture, that kind of thing. Then that kind of like save on some of the costs. But that was a very good experience for me because like I never been in at that age I never been in debt before. So it's like that was the first time I was like, oh yeah, I didn't know that people can get into debt if you didn't manage your finance well. So that was like during then. Then so
It's your first exposure to reality.
yeah,
Harsh
reality, right? It's like,
realities
oh
that-
yeah, people can actually get into debt, that kind of feeling. So
and
it's
about
like
finances as well.
yeah, finances. So that's when I think about maybe I should read more about finance. So so during then I was like we kind of like got out of debt within 1 or 2 years. I mean the personal will repay, my father's loan will repay it. So we were kind of like debt free, and that feeling felt quite good.
Okay.
So it was that feeling that caused me to kind of like find I want to deep dive into like personal finance, that kind of thing. I was like, yeah, how come people they are working but they are still struggling financially after so many years? It's like, oh, how can that be possible? So that's why I deep dive, and I read a lot of like personal finance book. I think during then the ultimate book that actually brought me a different perspective on our relationship with money, which is the Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
So they talk about asset, they talk about liability. But then it was another book, the second book, the quadrant, which is cash flow quadrant. So how you get your cash flow, all these things. So we talk about the quadrant, the EBSI, E employee, B business, S is self-employed, I as an investor. So I study a lot about that, and then most people are employees, so it's like E. So I was thinking of exploring the self-employed, and then at the same time I was thinking of exploring business and investor. Yeah. So how does it work? It's like what is the pros and cons of it? Like other than being an employee. So that challenge became like my life goal. So it's like so when I didn't stay in the Air Force for too long because I want to explore this
Right.
this,
You'll be an E if you stay in the Air
yeah,
Force.
yeah, correct.
Employee.
So I started out like because my father was retrenched, so we can't find a job. So we together with my brother, we kind of like think of what can we let him do? So we were thinking like, oh yeah, let's just start a company. We start a company, then we bought our first van for delivery
So
services.
who's in the business? You and your brother? And,
yeah, my brother.
And
So
your father? You roped him in?
yeah,
or-
really, because he's
Okay,
like,
okay.
yeah,
Family
we
business.
try, yeah, it's kind of like a family business. So, but together with my father, we are kind of like running the whole show lah. So we do some delivery there and here. So we side hustle a lot because with a delivery van, it's like your tool to kind of like to earn money, that kind of thing. So in that sense, I kind of like tasted a bit of a self-employed. But then I was thinking, self-employed actually, if you're not there, actually,
You're still working. It's not a business yet.
yeah, it's still not a business yet. So that was, but it's a very good opener. It's like, how do you run your business as a self-employed, that kind of thing. But you still need you to be physically there. I mean, if you're sick, you can't earn an income. If you're old, probably you can't carry on doing all these things. So that's when I started to kind of like explore. It was side hustling lah. I mean, after the Air Force, everything was like side hustling.
Okay.
It's like I held some full-time job, like probably some of them doing night shift, some of them doing day shift, that kind of thing. But then, like if I'm doing night shift, then day shift I will kind of like help out with my father. Then that of kind of like to explore like what kind of opportunities are there in the delivery services. Like nowadays it's such a big thing, like Ninja Van, it's like Grab, it's so popular now. But during then it was like it's so raw, it's so I mean just delivery or basically just a delivery man. Yeah, it's nothing about technology or anything. But I was like thinking about the business side of it. So from the business side of it, you manage your finance, you kind of like manage your cash flow, that kind of thing. So that kind of give me some knowledge in the sense that, oh yeah, how do you manage the cash flow? If I'm really going to start a business today, what is going to be a cash flow of a company going to be like? Yeah. So I will always have this dream like to run like a retail shop, like like those like I don't know, like a mama shop was the starting point, and then there is some provision shop. It's like, wow, these people like have been there for 20, 30 years, so this business probably will do well. So we were exploring around there. Then one day, like kind of like my good friend came to me. Then they talked about this franchise opportunity to open out a retail shop.
Oh,
And then that was the big break for me. It was like, wow,
Right.
I've been looking for this all my life. And then probably my friends see something in me that I didn't see myself. It's like I've been like side hustling
Yeah, you've
all
been
my
hustling.
life. Yeah, I've been hustling. So it's like he said, wow, how come this person can like work night shift, then day shift, do something else? And then it's like, what is this person trying to do?
Yeah.
So probably he sees something in me that I didn't see myself. So he kind of like gave me this opportunity to join him in this business venture.
It's your chance to go from one quadrant to the other, right?
Yeah,
Employee,
so-
self-employed, and now finally you get to run a business.
Yeah, so I'm all in.
How did that work out?
Yeah, so we started with I kind of like I was still having a full-time job, still running the delivery service there at the same time. Because it's a franchise, so you just basically need to pay some money, get a franchise, get a shop front, and then run the business. And then you can manage it from the site because you have a worker down there on site, so you can manage basically remotely at times. But most of the day, I will just go down and then take a look and then do some stock take, that kind of thing. Yeah,
So it's a retail shop, kind of like mama shop kind of
yeah,
concept.
it's a mama shop. So
Okay.
it's like a
With a few outlets.
yeah. So it's called a bus kiosk lah. So
Yeah,
so,
okay,
yeah, bus
okay.
kiosk. So that's the kiosk.
You see
that
those at
see
the
in
interchange
all
and all
these
that, okay.
selling newspaper. I mean, a very simple concept, but that was an opener to
Business,
for me. In terms of business, it's like, oh, okay, why not? We just start with small shop at HDB shop, HDB block,
Mm-hmm.
and then we started out there. Then as time goes by, then I started to go a bit deeper into the business. Then we started to acquire more franchise and then more shops. Then at one point of time, we were like, kind of like, we were at the age of 29. Then we have like, at one time, together with my partners, we were having like 7 shops under our wing. So it's like, wow, okay. It seems so good from the outside. It's like,
made it.
yeah, it's like, oh, made it in life. You know, that kind of thing.
Businessman.
Yeah, correct.
Entrepreneur.
So, yeah, entrepreneur. So I kind of like, oh, I fulfill the B quadrant.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. But then as time goes by, things didn't go as planned. It's like together with my partners, we were like, our original objective was quite simple. But then when money goes into more money or more estate goes into the equation, it becomes like a greed comes in. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
certain values, certain ethics will not being obeyed. You know, that kind of thing. So I don't want to kind of like pinpoint certain people or certain thing. But it's just me in integrity to me is very important. So to me, integrity, ethics, principle, values is what Dave is made up of. So I can forsake money, but I cannot forsake my belief, my value, all these things.
Principles.
So I decided to. I mean because of all these conflicts, we kind of like the relationship kind of like turned sour. So I exited the business, but that was like a business still in the infant stage. So it's like 3 years into a business. A lot of it is actually sunken cost. So actually, I took up a bit of personal loans. I sold, and all my saving went into the business, and I sold off all my insurance coverage. I mean, insurance during then. So it's like, wow, I was like totally bad. I mean, on hindsight, that was a very risky move. So actually, it's like everything all in. It's like all in. So during then, I was like, so during then, I was at the age of 29 when I was feeling at my peak. At the same time, I was feeling at rock bottom when I exited business because I was in debt. Because I contributed so much money, but it's all sunken cost, so I can't get any money back.
Oh, and because you took a personal loan under your name.
Yeah, correct.
How much debt was that?
It's near six figure. I mean, a low six figure.
Right.
Figure. Yeah. So collectively, it was that. So it was like, so I was like at my rock bottom. I don't know what to do next. So I was like kind of like I sold off my car. I kind of like sell off some of my investment, that kind of thing. So actually, during when I was doing business, I was doing something else. So I was doing investing. So I was doing some investing during then, but I got to kind of like sell off some of the investment just to pay off some of the debt. But it was still huge for me. I mean, after I pay off everything, I'm still in debt, basically. So that kind of like I was quite shell shocked. I mean, at that point of time, I didn't feel really very sad. I just feel like, what happened? You know, that kind of thing.
Do you see a parallel between you and your father? Because I mean, both of you got into debt. How you got there is very different.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, he was gambling. as
Yeah,
you
he was
mentioned.
gambling. Yeah, correct.
And well, some people frown upon that.
Yeah, correct.
Whereas for you, you were You were entrepreneurial, you were
Yeah,
hardworking, you were hustling.
Yeah, hustling.
You're working so hard, do
Yeah,
your own
correct.
business, and yet you still got into
still
debt.
have-
In fact,
yeah,
worse, 6 figures. But that
Yeah.
was 5 figures.
Yeah, correct,
like,
correct.
what's that?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, life slapped you in the face. Like, what
Yeah,
did I
yeah,
do wrong,
I
right? Do you
did.
feel
Yeah,
unfair?
yeah. I
Some
felt-
bitterness, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, correct. I really did feel like, wow, I'm working so hard, but why did I fall into this like this? To me, it's like a graveyard. So it's like, oh, why did I fall into this graveyard, this pit hole of my life? It's like, why do I have to experience that? Even though I'm been working so hard all my life, ethically, I mean, I didn't like. I mean, I didn't go shortcut to earn money, that kind of thing. Why does this thing happen to me? But then I was thinking, like, actually, it took me a while to grasp, like, actually, I didn't do anything wrong. It's just that the thing didn't work out. Okay. And I was just exploring the B and I quadrant. B didn't work out. So I focused on the I. So actually at the time I have some I. I've been like investor for quite a number of years. So I was like, yeah, actually that part did quite well for me. So why not I kind of like focus on that part? I mean, I tried out both. I mean, one didn't work out. Option one didn't work out. So I continued to do option two. So, but then the debt was like, I mean, it's quite huge. So, I mean, to me, during that point of time, it was like quite huge. So, I was like, I got to sell off some of my investment, even though some of them are doing well. But I got to kind of like sell off some of them to repay the debt, just to get me back to like ground zero, that
back
kind
to
of thing.
neutral,
Back to
zero,
neutral,
right?
back to zero, right? So, but it also took me quite a while. So, the most humbling experience I have during that time, right, was I was, on top of all this hustling, I was doing my part-time degree.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
You're a busy man.
Yeah, so it's like I don't really have time to think about anything else. So I
Right,
was like
right.
still doing my part-time degree. I mean, I still had 1 year to go. So I'm supposed to graduate at the age of 30. I was 29. So I was thinking, I will graduate. So I was studying about banking and finance. So I wanted to go into banking and finance. That was my kind of like my backup plan if the business didn't work out. But I still haven't. The thing is, still haven't graduated. So I was like looking for a job, but they won't employ me because I don't have the degree, that kind of thing. So I was like looking into it, and I was like, okay, I will just do part-time. So my first part-time job in the banking job was $7 an hour. So I was working with interns, that kind of thing. It's like, that was a humbling experience in the sense that just a few months back, I was a boss. I was a director of operation, that kind of thing. Then suddenly, from 7 shops, I always draw the parallel, 7 shops to $7 an hour. So how does that kind of like feel like?
Okay, all right.
So
At
that
about 30
was
years old.
yeah, that was totally humbling. So I was like, okay, pick myself up. Okay, I continued to study that time, earn some income along the way. Then eventually I got a job in the banking as a maternity cover, which is like for 3 to 4 months. But then within the 3 to 4 months, I kind of like showed some potential. They extended my contract. Then eventually I kind of like, I got a full-time job eventually. Okay. So during that, I was like kind of like still repaying my debt. So I got to kind of like manage my portfolio, my investment portfolio at that time. I still have a bit of money there. Investment, put some money into investment, put some money into the debt, and then the rest of the money, then I got to kind of like for my living expenses.
Right. You still haven't started the blog already?
During then, no.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was all before the blog.
Yeah, all before the
Yeah.
blog.
So when did you clear your second debt, your personal debt in the
It
business?
took me about like 2-3 years, I think.
3 years.
2-3 years.
Of
to clear the
working
debt.
hard,
Working hard.
managing your investments.
Yeah, managing my investment, then the investment gain and dividends, I kind of like use it to pay for part of the loan, that kind of thing. It took me a while. During then was like, because it's like all credit card debt, that kind of thing. So I was like, I received a lot of notices. That's quite mentally draining.
Stressful, yeah.
Yeah, stressful. So I collect. But I took it like, I was very disciplined. I was very organized. I kept all the notes during that. So I was like, I'll make sure I got to pay this minimum sum for this. I got to pay the full sum for this. And then I kept an Excel spreadsheet just to monitor all of my debts have been promptly paid. And that was my plan for the next 2-3 years. And eventually I got out of it. And then I was, actually, on hindsight, I was like thinking now, I was thinking, actually I was quite fortunate. Actually, at that point of time where I was like kind of like in deep debt, but I didn't really tell my wife about it during that.
You were already married.
Yeah. No. Actually, we were not married when I was in debt. So that was like in 2010. So 2010 is like, that was my rock bottom. But then my wife was still my girlfriend in there. So she kept faith with me. I mean, the business didn't work out. She tried to find job, in the banking sector for me. So I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't lose faith in this whole thing. Maybe there's something that she sees in me, probably I didn't see in myself again. So I kind of like, I kind of went to banking, then repaying all the debt. Then eventually got married in 2012. It's like 2 years later. We managed to kind of like save up some money for the marriage. And then we saved up money for our potential new house, which will come in like 2 years later.
Okay.
So
And this time you cleared the debt already, right?
By that time, I already cleared my
cleared.
debt.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
correct. So I managed to kind of save some money. But I think, I'm very appreciative of my wife. I mean, I was like down and out, but she stayed with me through thick and thin. I didn't really tell her about my problem. I kept it to myself. Probably many years later, then I revealed to her I was in so much debt, that kind of thing.
How did
Then
she
she
respond?
realized-
Like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, I didn't tell
Could
her
have
why.
been
Because I
just together.
didn't really ask for help. I didn't really ask for like my father to help me, my brother to help me, my girlfriend to help me, like or even my best friend to help me, that kind of thing. So I was trying to resolve all this within myself because I brought myself into this stage. So I need to to pull out my sleeve. I got to work it out myself. So during that was like it's mentally stressful. I mean, if on hindsight, probably I went through quite a bit of stress during then, but I was like too busy to think about stress. I mean, I was trying to repay. I mean, I have a plan in place. I need to repay the debt, that kind of thing. Then it was during then when I got married that I jot down the first time I jot down the plan that I want to achieve financial independence in 10 years. Yeah. So just before this podcast, actually, I dig out that email that I actually sent to my wife.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I find it quite amazing. It's like how I think 10 years back, how I think right now.
Oh, that was 10 years ago. Okay,
Yeah, 10 years ago.
2012. Yeah, all right.
2012, right, 10 years ago. So I was like thinking, then I draw some parallel, like, wow, if I didn't have that plan, and it dawned to me, it's like very amazing, like, that plan actually kind of like worked in a way.
worked out.
Yeah, it worked out in
okay.
a way. So I drafted out the 10-year plan. So I drafted out like, how much savings you have, that kind of, at that point of time. How much are we going to grow year by year from year 1 to year 15, that kind of thing. So but the plan was 10 years. So 15 years is just in case we didn't hit the target, we do it like 15 years. Then I also drafted something like what kind of life I want to achieve. I even, I actually stated like, I want a 4-room, fully paid HDB by the time I'm 35 or 40, that kind of thing. I actually stated the exact year that I'm going to finish the payment. I even wrote down that how many kids I'm going to have.
Did that
Which
work
is
out?
like that was like, wow, okay.
Wow.
That was, I mean, I wrote down 2, but I didn't know it would be a girl and boy. But
Wow, perfect.
yeah, so it's like, wow, okay. Wow, okay. That was like, wow, okay. Then to kind of like own a Japanese car fully paid out for, like some of the simple things that people want in a family, that kind of thing.
Right, it seems like in your 20s, 20 to 30 years old, life hasn't been that smooth sailing. And then
Yeah, correct.
after that, it's like 30 to 40.
Yeah, correct.
If I got the timeline right, you're in your early 40s now?
Yeah, correct. Early 40s.
Okay,
I just
and
turned 40 last year.
What's your financial situation right now?
Financial situation right now, we kind of like reached financial independence last year. So financial independence mean very different thing for different people. But for us during then, because my financial independence was penned down last 10 years ago. So during then, I just want to kind of like grow a portfolio that can give out income or dividend that can kind of like satisfy our basic needs. And I got to emphasize on the basic needs. My basic need is basically based on the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
So the bottom 2 was, I think was security,
security.
physiological safety needs. So basically having a roof over your head, and then having send your kids to childcare, that kind of thing, food on the table, paying your utility bills, all this stuff, having some basic insurance coverage, that kind of thing. So I was like, yeah, we fulfilled that requirement last year.
Okay.
But then we were thinking, oh yeah, but COVID actually got us thinking a lot about our life.
Okay.
So 10 years back, we were thinking about that. So we kind of like achieved it, but then at the same time, we were thinking, wow, I'm only 40. I still got so long to go, right? What am I going to do next? yeah, I mean, we still got so much potential and so much thing that we can do that can we can actually contribute back to the society,
Okay.
to the community. So we're thinking, actually, what is financial independence? I mean, financial independence is not about just or you can retire and then you don't have to do anything, that kind of thing. But now we're thinking, how do we? COVID got us thinking, is how do we make us more useful and then contribute back to the society, make our life meaningful in the sense that work on something, our passion project, that is something that we're very passionate about, something that keep us awake. Why we want to wake up every day in the morning is because we are doing something very fulfilling. So COVID got us thinking about that, and then I was thinking, oh yeah, maybe I should. Initially, I was exploring a lot of things. I was like, wow, what should I do? I was like, minimalism, financial. Then I was like thinking, oh, should I be a minimalism coach or financial coach? You know, that kind of thing. So I kind of like, I think my financial experience, which I got into like 2 times that in my lifetime, and then I got into kind of like financial independence in my own way. Why not I let that experience to help people? To help people like manage their debt, manage their assets, manage their cash flow. But the ultimate aim, right, for me to go into financial coaching is kind of like I'm trying to help people who face the same problems as what I did in the past. So it's like, well, I find my class of people is the most challenging. It's like the sandwich class. So I got to take care of the elderly, we got to take care of the young kids, that kind
Two
of thing.
kids now.
Yeah, correct. So it's like, wow, okay, how do people even achieve financial independence when you got to manage
Yeah.
the old and then you got to manage the young, that kind of thing. So I want to have some, I want to set some purpose and goals for me going into this job. I don't want it to be just about money. It's like, oh yeah, I just want to earn the most money out of this profession or whatever. So my goal is to kind of like help people who face the same problem as me, young kids, old parents, that kind of thing, and kind of like give people more options. It's actually to me it's all about like resources. So time is a resource, your money is a resource, your house is a resource. So how you actually allocate all this right in the right places. That's where kind of like minimalism helps me. It's like, oh yeah, minimalism let me focus better. So I just declutter the rest that is frivolous, and then you just focus on those things that is most important to you. So it's like kind of like doing budgeting, you know, like yeah. I mean, most people don't do budgeting, but I mean, budgeting does help you to kind of like focus all your resources on those things that actually brings value to you, and yeah.
To do a quick recap, right, of your amazing journey. Early 20s, you cleared your family debt, and then 20 to 30 years old, you were hustling hard. However, at 30 years old, you got into debt again. This time it's your own personal debt that you have to clear. You took 2 to 3 years. All this while, you were dating, and finally you got married, and then you set a goal to achieve financial independence. And you finally did it after 10 years
10
from
years,
30
yeah,
years old, right? You've achieved it last year at 40 years old. 20, 30, 40. Like,
Yeah,
this
correct.
is one hell of a journey.
Yeah, correct.
All right,
Yeah.
2 times that.
Yeah.
Now, financial independence with 2 kids.
Yeah, correct.
Some more, yeah.
Yeah, correct.
It's not easy at all,
Yeah, correct.
right?
Yeah.
So, tying back to letting go, because we were talking about letting go at
Yeah,
the start,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
Looking back, what did you have to let go to get to where you are?
So letting go was when during the 10 years journey of financial independence during the middle, like 2016, 2017, when I started the blog, minimalism. When I started the minimalism journey, it kind of like taught me about initially was just decluttering. Then after that, actually ultimately was letting go. So when I talk about let go, is talking about, oh yeah, do I still hate my father for what he did?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate him as much anymore. I mean, I start to forgive him, that kind of thing. I start to kind of like treat him nicer. Because during my childhood, we had a lot of quarrels, all these things. As the elders of the family, I was like quarreling with him. I almost like feel like punching him at times.
Okay.
So it was quite bad. I mean, the
Especially
was bad.
when finances are
Yeah, I didn't know that finances
tough,
can
you know,
actually
yeah.
can actually cause me to do that. Yeah.
okay.
Then when I started to forgive him, then I started, wow, it felt very liberating. It's like, wow, I put down everything already. It's like all the so-called dark times that I went through, it's like, I started to kind of like forgive some of my business partner, that kind of thing. Started to forgive my dad. Then let go of my past. Whatever happened has already happened. Now I'm something like what I'm going to look forward to the future. That was the eye-opener for me to feel in this 10 years of journey. I think that was the best part that I felt. Even better than the financial independence. You know, like everyone is like searching for financial independence, then they don't have to work for the rest of life. That kind but the letting go is the best part. So that's when I decided to kind of like let go of my financial independence. So we kind of like, we move on to a new place. We move on to a new place. And then together with my wife, we did a mid-career switch. To me, I'm doing financial coaching right now, which is something that I'm very passionate about. My wife went into something that she's very passionate about. I mean, in her own space. So that was, if we don't let go of the past, the financial independence, or let go of our career, let go of our status during then, we couldn't have like kind of like achieved what we have achieved today. Yeah. So we kind of like, now we are kind of like doing our dream job. We have a very good reason to wake up every day. So we don't really think like, initially I was thinking, a lot of people are thinking about retiring early, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that thought totally
You cannot,
dissipate.
you cannot rest on it.
Yeah, correct. So those
You gotta keep yourself busy.
yeah, correct. So that thought dissipate. So I was like thinking, yeah, actually financial independence is just like a stepping stone for you to know what you actually want in your life. And then you kind of like, you let go of everything, then you find something that you're very passionate about, and then work as long as possible. That's what I would advise the younger me, that kind of thing. It's like, initially we were thinking about retire early, financial independence. It's very simple thinking. It's like, oh yeah, you just don't want to work, you don't like your boss, that kind of thing. It's very simple. But actually there's actually more to it. It's like, when you are very passionate about what you're doing, like what I'm doing right now is like my podcast. I mean, if I kind of like retire early, I won't be able to do all this stuff, right? To share my life story, to kind of like inspire people. So I kind of like split my life 20 to 30 is like 10 years time, right? 10 years time you can go from hero to zero, that kind of thing. But I also share with you from 30 to 40, another 10 years can get you from zero to hero. So that
You went
was
from negative to zero.
Yeah.
And then zero to where you are now.
Yeah, correct. So that's what I believe. So I always tell people not to lose hope. And any 10 years, right, you can achieve a lot of things. It's like what I've achieved in the last thing. I never thought like 20 to 30 I was doing so many stuff. It's like I now on hindsight I was like, wow, what am I thinking doing that? It's like am I crazy? You know, like I spend so much time on all this thing. Then in the 30 and 40 I was like also working very hard. But then I was thinking, wow, what will be the next phase of life? It's like everyone is just looking forward to retirement at the age of 62 or 65. What am I going to do for the next 20 to 25 years? So that's where I started to think about, okay, why not? Why not we just throw the financial independence, so-called status away?
Let go of that status.
Let go of that status. Throw everything. We move into a new place. We started our new career, all at the same time. And it all boils down to why am I now a financial coach? It's because it boils down to all about planning. And having a very detailed plan actually helps. Yeah. So that's explain why when I detailed the 10-year plan, it kind of like, there's some resemblance. I mean, the dreams or certain things that we do might deviate a bit. But the original goal was there. The original goal was met. So I want people to believe that, not to lose hope. Within 10 years, right, you can actually change your life around. To kind of like, I talked to a lot of people, they felt very trapped in my age group. They felt very trapped. It's like, 20 years in their own career because they haven't been like doing other stuff. They've been working as an employee, earning their income, that kind of thing. But I never thought of like, there are actually other options in life that you can actually try out. So I want people to feel not to be trapped by this like society expectation. It's like, once you graduate from school, you got to find a stable job, work there for 10, 30 years, and then you have a very good retirement, that kind of thing. I want people to think outside the box. It's like, then maybe spend 10 years, go and experiment, and the courage to experiment everything you want. And then the next 10 years, go and find something that you can focus on. And then the next 10 years, probably you can do something else. Life shouldn't be like a one career kind of, to me, it's like how do you say that? Like
Linear from A to
yeah,
B,
it's a
or-
linear. It's like a template. It's like a template.
Alright, okay.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
template. Or this by this age must do this. By this age must do this. At this age, don't take risks or don't do mid career switch. Very dangerous. You might lose everything. That kind of thing. So I want people to kind of like open up their mind and think that yeah, by the age of 30, at the age of 40, you have a lot of options around. It's just about kind of like in my financial coaching, it's about right sizing your resources. So if you can right size your house, so you have more opportunity to explore other things. Or you right size your investment, you can right size your money so they have more options to explore other things. Because a lot of people spend too much on the so-called these resources, all the social status symbols, that kind of thing. So they didn't really thought that, oh, I think after I bought this place, probably I got to continue with my trajectory,
Yeah.
being promoted at this age, this kind of thing. Then it's like you felt a bit trapped, right? So for us, together with Kate, so we were thinking like, yeah, even if 5 years down the road, this thing doesn't work out, we can just sell the flat, I mean the house, and then we kind of like just explore something different. Yeah. So it's that feeling of being able to let go of that status, of that house, that kind of thing. That is the most that was the most amazing feeling that I felt at that point of time when I made the decision to do this.
How do you coach your clients on that though? What if someone comes up to you? How do I let go? How do I find out what's important and essential for
Yeah,
me? What do you have to say to them?
I will say to them to kind of like for my line of business, actually I do only full financial planning. I don't really focus on products because I want to really know my client inside out, to know what are the resources they have, what are the assets they have, how much time they spend on certain things, how busy they are with their work, do they like their work, and to right size their resources in a way that give them more options. Like if they have like 20 or 30 insurance policy that's kind of like tying them down, that kind of thing. Why not you kind of like in a minimalist way try to simplify it? 20, 30, maybe consider it to 10 or 5 or something like that. Make finance simpler. So my talk today is always on making finance simpler. Because as you work, your assets grow, right? It kind of like it becomes more challenging to manage your assets. So I want to simplify everything for them in terms of finances. Then they can have more options. Like if they need to downgrade their house to achieve their dream, let it be. Because it's all about letting go. Letting go of something and then achieve what you want. That is the main thing. So you can let go of anything. Is the most important advice I will give to them. Because some people, they are like working in the 40s, 50s, they can't let go of their title, they can't let go of their desire, like I spent like 30 years as a teacher, that kind of thing. I'm going to let go of this. I'm still very passionate about it, but certain aspect of it, I don't really like it. But why not? You kind of like explore something like, or maybe become a full-time tutor, then you can spend more time on tutoring. You make your time more efficient, and then focus on your passions rather than just holding a full-time job just for the sake of holding the full-time job, meeting the statutory age of retiring at 62, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like a template.
You have
It's
to
like
follow the path.
yeah, you don't have it.
The
You don't
standard
really.
path.
Yeah, so it's basically let people have the option to do that, to travel the path that is, less traveled. Is what gave me the ultimate satisfaction I have right now.
How a conversation on minimalism led to this is like you mentioned minimalism is not about things.
Yeah, it's not about things.
It's so much more than that.
Yeah,
so
it's so
if
much
you
more than that.
come into this podcast expecting decluttering tips, I'm sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, correct.
But you can get them on the blog, like I said.
Yeah, correct.
Minimalist in the City. But we in fact went much more deeper than that to talk about minimalism in your whole life, all aspects of it.
Yeah, correct. Probably I haven't even blogged about that yet. But
Yeah.
this will be something that I will want to blog probably in future. Yeah.
So if someone comes up to you and asks you, Dave, how do I find out what's essential to me in life? What would you say to them?
So I would think that what's essential in life probably is I only know that through minimalism. So if someone asks me about that, I think they need to kind of like experience minimalism in a way. If not, I don't think I have a very proper advice to tell them. What should you need to do, that kind of thing. But what I could probably advise them is have the courage and the the adventurous mindset in your mind to go and experience all kinds of things. Once you experience all kinds of things, all kinds of things, all kinds of emotions comes in, then you will know what is essential for you. Yeah. It's not something that your parents can tell you like, oh yeah, you should do this and do this and do that. You need to go and experience it yourself. You go and experience it yourself, and then you find out what is essential for you. But you need to experience a lot of things in order for you. I mean, for me, I experience the highs and lows. Then I start to think about, oh, what kind of thing do I appreciate nowadays? It's like, oh yeah, maybe it's relationship with people. It become not much about stuff that we talk about, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think having that courage, I think, is the most important. I can't really advise them, but they need to have the courage to go and experience it themselves. They need to find it themselves. Minimalism does help you up to a certain extent, but it cannot help you to really find out what is essential for you. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, correct.
Courage.
Yeah, courage.
Go live life.
Yeah, go and live. The YOLO feeling. Yeah, I mean,
After you YOLO, then you come back.
yeah, you come back. I mean,
Find out what's
if you
essential.
if you can still come back. I mean, yeah.
What has been your best and worst investment you've ever made? Doesn't have to be financial. Can be time, effort, energy. Do you have something in mind?
Yeah, correct. I think the best investment, right? I mean, that I made, right, is I have the chance to feel very early in my life.
Fail. Okay.
Yeah, correct. Because it's failure that brought me to find out what is essential in my life, what is important in my life, what should I focus on in my life. So the one thing that I appreciate is during at that point of time I have the courage and I have the opportunity to venture out into uncharted waters, face my fears, and then so kind of like now I have a life that I can live with lesser regrets. I think that is kind of like my best investment. I mean, in a sense, it's like if I didn't have courage to venture into all these uncharted waters, I probably won't started the blog, or probably won't reach the stage I am today. So I think that was the best investment. So it's nothing monetary. So it's all mental and probably your heart.
How about the worst investment?
Worst investment. I probably, in a way, I felt that I'm an introvert. So as an introvert, I didn't know that I need to kind of like build relationships. So I didn't have like very good relationship with my family members, that kind of thing. I didn't really have like good relationship with my friends, that kind of thing. So my friends all came together is because we kind of like have a common goal, like we play soccer together. So it's not much about having like very close friend that you can have a heart-to-heart talk. So I find I'm, because I'm so busy all my life, right? I don't really find like the time to really build out good relationship. Like probably to get to know my parents more, to know my brother more, to know my sister. Yeah, at this point, there was one point of time that I was pretty stressed out that I didn't really have a very good relationship with my sister. So after many, many years back, right, I start to appreciate like, yeah, probably I need to invest more time into my relationship. Yeah, family members and friends. So yeah, that's my worst investment during then, that I was too busy with my life, that I didn't invest enough into friendship
And
and
relationships.
kinship. Yeah, correct.
All right. Okay. What's one thing under $100 that has been a life changer for you? It's so helpful, so useful.
So there are probably a few things, but I will try to make it. It was the minimalism documentary about the important things by the minimalist. So that's where the game changer was when I went through that documentary. It brought light to me on how I should live my life going forward, and then that triggered me to start my blog on WordPress. So together with my wife, we started out that blog, which we pay like definitely lesser than $100. So by blogging as an introvert, and by blogging and by writing, I can actually conceptualize a lot of things and I can grasp certain principles better. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I can write. I mean, I'm not good at writing. I'm not the strongest in my language. But I didn't know that, actually writing can help me conceptualize my thought, all these things. So that was the game changer for me. Until the point that I felt that this financial roller coaster that I went through, I felt that minimalism is the ultimate thing, right, that people should look out for. Not just financial independence. Financial independence is just something that a lot of people want to achieve. But minimalism is the thing that make me think about like, what is essential in life? What is important in your life? How much life energy are you going to spend in that passion of yours? So that was the game changer for my entire life. Yeah.
Okay. What's one place that you learn from that you could recommend to us? Preferably something that's underrated. It could be a book, a blog, a website.
Okay. So probably I got
apart from the documentary that you just mentioned.
Yeah, correct. Probably my own blog.
Check out Minimalist in the City.
Yeah, because I don't think there's a lot of blogs that actually document minimalism in locally during then.
Yeah.
So we try to document it, and then we try to mix a bit of like how it link up with financial, that kind of thing. Then it kind of like link up with financial independence in a way. I think blog will be a very good way. But I think another underrated place that a lot of people probably need to sort out is the library or public library. Yeah, I frequent the library a lot, so that's where I learn about all this thing, and then how and it's free. I mean, I will bring my kids there to kind of like read books, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I think that is very underrated, public library. But there's tons of knowledge down there that we can actually learn from. So, yeah, that will be a place that will want. I mean, other than my blog, the place that you really need to go to will be the library. Yeah.
Well, although a blog is called Minimalist in the City, but you mentioned that it's not just about achieving minimalism. It's also about achieving financial independence as well. So our listeners, if you're interested, you can go check out minimalistinthecity.com. Any other social media, websites, anything you want to let us know about that you have?
Probably the blog, yeah, and then probably the my LinkedIn, yeah, and then also my Facebook page on Minimalist in the City. Probably you guys can check that out because all my blog posts will be broadcasted to LinkedIn and then my Facebook.
Okay, so the keyword Minimalist in the City should get
correct.
you there.
Yeah, should get you there.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Dave.
you. Thanks.